Imagine being a drug cop and finding a huge career making load of narcotics and not being able to do a goddamn thing about it because of the law that you uphold every single shift, every single day. Ain't that some shit, right? Well, I'm gonna explain how all of that went down and how I never thought that I could love the Constitution so much in that moment. So, real quick, if you're returning, thanks for coming back. I'm really trying to put out some good content, some good stories, and everything. And, you know, just trying my best. And if you're new, welcome to my page. Check out my shorts, check out my videos. They're long, but they're good. They're short and good. They're funny. They're real, true, no lies, no bullshit. So, I'm gonna get into it. So, back in like high school, we would um, we would meet up with kids from the opposing high school because it was weird. Like when I went to school in Torrance, Torrance has like 4 high schools, but Redondo only has 1. So it was just like a little different to me. And it's kind of like at in Torrance, you have other, maybe you don't fuck with one school, but you like people from the other school or whatever. You just have I guess what you could say is Redondo is one big ass school with a bunch of kids. Torrance is split up into like 4 schools with like smaller amounts of kids that probably all equal out to the same amount as kids at Redondo. All right. So we would hang out with people from this school called Maricosta, which was another beach school, but that's not in the same district as the school that I was in. And that's a school that one of my friends got kicked out, and he came at the same time that I got kicked out. So, like people would be like friends of friends, and like people, would know each other, especially back in those days when everybody was going to like raves and stuff. Like, you're constantly like meeting new people from different schools, different places, of just like, oh, this is a guy that I played disc golf with. Or it's like random random people. So like there was plenty of times where I would go over to somebody's house and I didn't know who they were. Like plenty of times. Nice houses too. Because like from where I moved to, Redondo was a nice city. It just trying to hold that cough in. Like the money like just goes up from like Torrance is like down. And then you get to like Redondo and it's a little like higher. And then you get to Manhattan Beach, which is where this other school was. And that's like where kids are driving like Mustangs and Mercedes Benz and like Dodge Chargers, like brand new to school when they're like 16. And to be fair, some people at Redondo had it like that too. So I'm not gonna say like that they did it, because they definitely did. At West and North, the other two schools I went to, nobody had it like that. Like, if you had a broken down fucking Honda Civic, you were balling. Like, people were like, what? That fool's got a whip. Like, even my homie, he had a minivan that didn't even have a sound system. So what we did is we took a boom box and we put it in the back seat of his car, and we just made a CD. And it was right when the Dedication 3 mixtape came out, and we just had that shit in the um, the boombox. Like, we never took it out. We just had that on the seat, like right, like behind the driver's seat, and we would just play music off of it. Like, that was the level that we were on. So, anyways, um, so after going to some events and, people's houses, parties, whatever, and, you know, meeting some people, like, we kind of found like a new group. Not a new group, but just like a group made up of a bunch of different people that were kind of like half from like one place, half from another place, just like, but we all had like mutual friends and stuff like that. So, and I have a crazy story that it's for another day, but it involves similar people, similar lifestyles, and a robbery. Straight up a robbery. And I'll just leave it at that. Okay. So, anyways, with this, we like sometimes we would just meet up, like, if someone had a car, someone else had a car, we just meet up somewhere and, like, I don't know, they would like drink. I was usually like smoking or like taking pills or something. Wasn't like I never liked having alcohol on me, and like I can't chug beer, and just it's just never been my thing. Even hard alcohol, I'll have a Jack and Coke, whatever, but like I can't drink beer. Never have been able to, never probably will be able to. It's not that big of a deal. I'll still fuck somebody up in beer pong though. Won a couple of tournaments in my day. So, anyways, we meet up and we're in Manhattan Beach. And in Manhattan Beach, cops are definitely more like concerned than where I was staying, like in like South Redondo, that is literally like a couple blocks from the beach. This place was just like neighborhood watch central type place. But to be fair, they have nice shit. Like, they have nice houses, nice cars. Like, they want to make sure nobody's like fucking their shit up, which I get that. You know. So I remember we're in we're outside of the car, and like we just had a litany of stuff inside of this car, man. Like, we had a NOS tank in there that had stickers all over it. We had balloons. So, like, obviously you could tell that there was no use for it besides recreational. Um, which they do pay attention to that, because I've literally been with cops and been like, this thing is neon orange. Like, you're telling me this goes inside of a car? And my homie was like, yeah. And the cop was like, so, anyways, um, like, we had a NOS tank in the car. We had pills, alcohol, like all different kinds of alcohol. Not mine, but there was beer, there was vodka, there was like all this kind of stuff. There was pills, there was weed. This was back like 10 plus years ago, when like weed was still like not anywhere where it is now. You know what I mean? So, like, they just find, like, a whole bunch of shit. We had that shit in the car. But what happened was, we're sitting outside of the car. The cops roll up, and they start asking for people's IDs. So, they're asking for everyone's IDs, and we're, like, taking them out. And we're, like, giving them our IDs. And one of the homies that we're with, his ID is in the car, and the car is locked. So, I don't know exactly what kind of a move this is, on if this is a thing or not, but the cop has my homie unlock his car so that he can get his ID out of it. So he, not thinking anything of it at the time, he goes and gets his ID from the car. And then he just gets his ID, closes the door. Okay. Well, now, after they run everybody's names, they want to search the car. And, like, well, we're trying to refuse. And, we're trying to refuse. And we're, like, asking, on what grounds, as if we're fucking lawyers or something. On what grounds? But no, we're seriously, kind of like, what did we do? What are we getting charged with? Like, normal questions. And they don't really answer. And they don't have a dog. So they literally just, like, go into the car, and it's almost better when they have a dog, when you don't have anything. Because when it's just the cops, especially when there's two of them, I've had them rip my car to fucking shreds. Like, to shreds. Like, pulling up the thing that my window rolls down and up, the little thing that locks. Like, that little part right next to your arm. I've came back to my car in, like, so many pieces. And things all, like, out of the place. Blue gloves everywhere. Just, like, a mess. So these guys start going through the thing, and they just keep getting more and more stoked by what they find. We're like sitting on the curb, and it's like, what do we have here? And they're like just having a fucking blast, and they're like just having a blast. What do we have here? Ooh. Like, they were so lame. They were trying to give us, like, tobacco possession tickets because we were, like, I don't know, 17 or something. And, like, that's how lame they were. You know what I'm saying? Like, my homie's pad got raided in Torrance, and they actually charged him for having a pack of cigarettes. And that was the only thing they found, and the warrant they had to raid his pad had to do with ecstasy. And he had a pack of cigarettes, and he wasn't 18. They actually charged him with it. That. Isn't that fucking petty? I think so. So, anyways, they're finding all this stuff. But I start to think to myself, like, the only way that they're looking in the car is because we unlocked it for the homie to get his ID out of the car. So, finally, somebody says something about that. I don't remember if it was me or if I just backed it up or something, but somebody said, like, yo, like, like, somebody said illegal search and seizure. And right then, like, I knew, like, I was like, that's what that is. That's why this feels wrong. That's why this feels like there's some, like, room to get out of this. This doesn't feel right. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something wasn't right. So, like, someone mentions it kind of, like, as we're, like, sitting down, and then, like, it gets louder and louder and brought up more and more. and then somebody says like, I want to talk to your supervisor, like it starts getting like somebody knew what they were talking about. I don't remember who, but me being the MSNBC true crime line watcher guy was trying to say the same thing. "Oh, our rights are being violated," like, and whatever kind of shit that I thought I could spew that would make me sound like credible. And but I was saying like, like there's they wouldn't be able to search the car if we didn't unlock it to get the ID, which they asked for, and we weren't committing a crime at the time, so like there was no suspicion of him needing to identify himself, of needing to, like they want you to, but there wasn't anything that he was doing that they needed to know who he was right then and there. So like I can see their faces, and I can see them like kind of like looking at each other back and forth as we are like talking at them. We're not really talking to them, we're talking at them of like, yo, this is how it's gonna go down. Like you can't just do that. So they like talk amongst themselves, and like it's like us, like there's girls, like there's like maybe like three or four like dudes. We're handcuffed on the curb, like we think we're going to jail. Like I thought I was going to jail, and they're like looking and like they're looking at everything. They pulled everything out of the car. They just had like the nos tank looked like one of those little things that like goes underneath a barbecue that's like a gas. Like it's like just I think it's 5 pounds. Is one of those. And they just had like baggies of like weed and pills and money, alcohol, everything that you could possibly think of, really. Like cocaine, like everything. So like we're like kind of like fuck, man. We're thinking to ourselves like, damn, we're fucked. We're only like 17 years old, man. I mean, we're not that fucked because we're 17, but depending on how they want to like do it, and we're not in a place that's cool with like kids doing drugs at all. Like this is a very concerned city with its citizens and whatnot. So um like we just sit there, and all of a sudden they like I can see on their faces that they're pissed off. Like you can just tell, like the energy, like it flipped, and like you could just see on their like bald faces that like they were pissed off. So they come and they unhook us, they uncuff us. But before they uncuff us, what they did, which I thought was weird, but I found out later like why they did this. But all of a sudden, like we're sitting there, and all of a sudden they take out this like camera, and I can't remember if it was a Polaroid or if it was just a digital camera. I just remember the flash, and basically the best that these cops could do, because they did talk to like a sergeant, like no one ever came like higher up. They didn't want anybody to come because they kind of like, it's probably embarrassing to do an illegal search and seizure thinking that they hit the jackpot, and then coming to the realization that it's like literally like the Fourth Amendment or whatever. So they wanted to probably like keep that quiet, that it even happened. So I just remember sitting there and seeing flashes, flash, 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 and I like they're taking pictures of everything, taking pictures of the nos tank, taking pictures of the baggies of cocaine, taking pictures of the baggies of weed, taking pictures of the blunt that we were like mid rolling, like took pictures of the alcohol, and like they just took pictures of everything, and like literally they just said, "It's your lucky day. Get the fuck out of here." And like they had to give us all that shit back. So like I just can't imagine like being a cop, being in that position, and like going from thinking that you hit the fucking straight lotto jackpot of just so much substances, and then having to hand that shit back. Like, I can't imagine like the kind of like mental fuck that is. But that's what happened, man. Your Fourth Amendment, illegal search and seizure. It's a real ass thing. So that was how I learned about it, and thankfully it saved my ass and my homie's ass at the time. And wouldn't be the last time I dealt with something like that, but that was a pretty up close and personal at a pretty young age too, to the point like it was pretty fucking, it would have been gnarly if it wasn't a legal search and seizure and like a real legitimate one. Things would have went a lot differently, like a lot differently, but fortunately they didn't. So don't be an idiot, don't be young and doing stupid grown up shit. And if you are, be at a house, be at a controlled environment. Don't be out in the streets. Don't park your car behind someone else's car and fucking sit on a curb. People in the neighborhood are gonna wonder what you're doing. Like, go somewhere at the least. Go to a park or something. You still probably get burnt, but you have a better chance. But if not, like it's like go to your pad, man. Like stay home or go to someone's house, like somewhere where there's no risk of anything happening. You know, that's the best advice that I can give because people are gonna do what they do. I'm not gonna fucking sit here and act stupid. So if you're gonna do what you're gonna do, just be safe and low key and careful about it. And that's my message and that's my story. So hope you guys liked it. Deuces.